Well, now, one thing, you have a theory about the moon, and we expect to be able to get observable facts about the moon fairly soon. What is your theory?
Well, it is by now rather more than a theory. 10 or 11 years ago, I stated to various scientists that the moon is not a piece of rock, but it is a plasma phenomenon, a cosmic plasma, and that this fact will eventually be confirmed. I made certain predictions which were already confirmed in 1958, and the situation now is coming close to a complete confirmation.
What will be the result if you're proved to be correct in your theories?
The result will be profound and decisive, because it will give proof that a complete reinvestigation of the laws of nature is necessary. Because if the moon is a plasma, no man will ever land on it. The soft landing attempts will all fail. That means that the mass of the moon is less, far less, than is currently assumed. It's in a different state of energy, and it has far less mass. That means there is no more explanation for the tides. If the moon, for example, had only 1,000th part of its current mass, then the tides would only be 2 inches high, and the conventional theories instead of sometimes 14 feet. And that means that if it is proved that the moon is a plasma, then all gravitational theories are out, and a new concept of the cosmos and of its laws has to be evolved.
Aren't you being a bit adventurous, though, because you know that we're going to be able to test out your theories on the moon fairly soon?
Well, not anymore. 11 years ago, of course, it was rather taking a risk. I was considered a lunatic, of course, but by now the evidence, accumulated evidence, is already so much in my favor that I'm not taking any risks anymore. On the contrary, there is scientific views expressed all over the world now that the moon seems to be of a quite different nature of what was assumed.
But the Americans and Russians are thinking of landing men on it.
Well, that will never happen. Not on the moon. But the moon is definitely, as I assert, a plasma.
So you're in Genesis chapter 1. It says he created 2 great lights. The greater light, the sun, to rule the day. The lesser light, to rule the night. He made the stars also. And God set them in the firmament. I don't know how many times he can say it, but he said it at least 3 times so far. In the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth. So reasons for the sun and the moon to give light upon the earth. And in verse 18 it says, to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. Turn to Mark chapter 13. I'm going to prove to you without a shadow of a doubt that the moon is a light and not a terrestrial plane that you can land on. Because mind you, when it was land, God called it earth. He would have said a light and an earth. Because when it was land, he called it earth. But he's calling it a light. Look in Mark chapter 13 and verse 24. And it says, in those days, after the tribulation, the sun shall be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light. The moon's own light. If the moon was giving the light from the sun, it would be the sun's light. It's her own light. This is a literal picture from NASA that they released to the public. And in their fake CGI imaging right here, you can see that they're taking this picture from behind their false moon and their false world. And the sun is shining on the earth, but it forgot to shine on the moon. It forgot right here. There's no sun here. There's no light here. This was released to the public. There would be light here if the sun was behind it. This should be illuminated. It's darkened because it's fake. And the moon's a light. Revelation 21:23 reads, and the city had no need of the sun, neither of the moon to shine in it. For the glory of God did lighten it, and the Lamb is the light thereof. So why would it mention the moon as a light if it wasn't giving it off its own light? You wouldn't need that extra wording there. It doesn't make sense. First Corinthians 15 verse 41, it says, there is one glory of the sun. It's talking about the light shining from it. It's talking about the light given off of it. And that's why it describes the glory of God. It's talking about light. There's one glory of the sun and another glory of the moon. Moon, own light, another glory. Not the same glory. And then it says also, and another glory of the stars. So the stars also have their own light. For one star different from another star in glory. So different brightnesses, different lights. And mind you, if the moon is a light and not a plane, everything you've ever been told is a lie. Everything you've ever been told is a lie, because the moon can't have gravity if it's a lesser light. And actually the moon and the sun are the same size. Why would they look the same exact size and be exactly the perfect distance away from each other to look the exact same size? If the sun is billions of times bigger than the earth, or however many times bigger, and it would have to be the perfect distance away, and the moon would have to be the perfect distance away for them to be the same exact size. It doesn't make sense. They're the same size. One's just a light for night and the other's a light for day. They're in the firmament. Turn to Ezekiel chapter 32, verse 7. Verse 7 says, "When I shall put thee out, I will cover the heaven, and make the stars thereof dark, and I will cover the sun with a cloud, and the moon shall not give her light. All the bright lights of heaven will I make dark over thee, and I shall set darkness upon the land." So the reason he says it will be dark is because the moon will not give her light. The moon is a light. Jeremiah, I'm just going to beat this right into the ground. Jeremiah 31, verse 35. I actually had to cut out about 40 more verses of this just because it was too repetitive, but I really need to show you this. Jeremiah 31 verse 35 reads, "Thus saith the Lord, which giveth the sun for a light by day, and the ordinances," keep in mind, ordinances is like a setting of something. You know, you set ordinances. So the ordinance of the sun and the moon would be the rotation thereof. And it says the ordinances of the moon and of the stars for a light by night. So the moon is a light and the stars are a light for night, which divideth the sea when the waves thereof roar. The Lord of hosts is his name. Isaiah chapter 13 and verse 10, it reads, "For the stars of heaven and the constellations thereof shall not give their light. The sun shall be darkened in his going forth, and the moon shall not cause her light to shine." The moon's light, her light. The moon gives off its own light, and it is not a plane you can land on. That's why the moon landing was a fake. And that's why the guy looked like a nut job when he was trying to explain how he landed on the moon, because you can't land on a light. It's just not possible. It doesn't make sense.